Sheryl Swoopes, this is kind of what you get for kind of not jumping on the tide, jumping on the boat. You were supposed to go and elevate with this whole situation. Your broadcasting career, everything, Sheryl, your podcasting, whatever you do, you're supposed to be elevating. But instead, you decided to show hate, very clear hate towards Caitlin Clark. Very clear hate. Right? And now this is kind of like what you get for it.
Did Sheryl Swoopes really think she could spend a whole year spreading false claims about Caitlin Clark and still keep her spot on the air? Turns out, she didn't need to be asked, because now we have the answer. She's officially been pulled from all WNBA broadcasts for the 2025 season.
She got fired, but it looked like you got fired, bro. It looked like she got fired. I just got to keep it real. It looked like she got fired.
This wasn't just about one bad comment or a simple mistake. It was the result of a long, deliberate effort to undermine the WNBA's rising star, and the league finally said, that's it. Want the full story? In this video, we'll explain what really happened behind the scenes, how she's trying to clean up the fallout, and what ultimately led to her losing her job. Ready to dive in? Let's get started.
I won't be missing you broadcasting the games because when you broadcasted the games, it was so hard for you to mention Caitlin Clark. How are you up there talking about, you kept mentioning, oh, the Indiana Fever are doing this. Oh, Kelsey Mitchell and the Indiana Fever. Oh, Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell and those girls are doing. Oh, you had such the hardest time mentioning Caitlin Clark's name. Why? I don't get it. I really don't know.
Did you know this isn't the first time Sheryl Swoopes has been let go from a position? Long before the recent controversy in broadcasting, she had already built a concerning track record. While her Hall of Fame playing career rightfully earned her a place as one of the WNBA's original stars, her career after basketball tells a different story, one marked by repeated issues and questionable behavior.
Loyola University basketball coach Sheryl Swoopes, she's under investigation, accused of mistreating players. College coach is not only under fire, but under investigation after reports that the majority of her roster has decided to leave.
The warning signs were impossible to miss during her time at Loyola University in Chicago. Back in July 2016, Swoopes was fired as head coach after a shocking number of players left the program. 10 out of 12 returning athletes walked away in a single season. That's not just regular turnover, that's a major red flag that should have given any future employer serious pause.
That she mistreated players.
It was the environment she created. I was belittled, humiliated, made to feel extremely small.
Head coach since 2013. Last year, 5 of her players reportedly transferred to different programs. And this year, a reported 10 of the team's 12 players aren't planning on coming back.
Former Loyola player Kate Soon didn't hold back when talking about Swoopes' time as a coach. Just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're a great coach, she said, pointing to the constant drama that seemed to follow Swoopes wherever she went. Other players described an emotionally unstable atmosphere, crying during games and practices, threats to scholarships, and even sharing private information inappropriately. Swoopes may have been a star on the court, but her struggles as a leader off the court show that talent doesn't always translate into effective mentorship.
Former Loyola basketball player Kate Sohn says Swoopes caused the players to live in fear, that she routinely threatened that they would lose their scholarships or she would cut them from the team.
It made it hard to play. It wasn't about working hard and having fun anymore. It was about surviving.
The situation with Lauren Hibbert really stands out. According to Hibbert, Swoopes pressured her into signing a medical hardship form, effectively ending her playing career, with false promises that she'd stay on as a team manager. But when Hibbert later learned she wouldn't even be traveling with the team, she felt completely misled. That sense of betrayal led to formal complaints and played a major role in Swoopes' firing. Jump to 2024, and the same kind of dismissive attitude showed up again, this time toward Caitlin Clark. During her now infamous February appearance on Gil's Arena, Swoopes got basic facts wrong. She claimed Clark was in her 5th college season, she was in her 4th, and said Clark took 40 shots per game, when the actual average was just 22.7. These weren't small slip-ups, they came across as deliberate attempts to downplay Clark's accomplishments.
Caitlin Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Carry on.
I know you like that.
Hell yeah.
I said that because when she comes to the league, regardless of what team she goes to that has vets on that team, she probably ain't gonna get 40 shots a game.
What stood out even more was Swoopes' dismissive attitude when talking about Clark's record-breaking achievements. She downplayed them, saying, "So is it truly a broken record? I don't know. I don't think so. When asked about Clark's future in the WNBA, Swoopes didn't hold back. Will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now immediately? Absolutely not. Not going to happen. The tone was clear, there was no support, just open doubt and criticism. The contempt wasn't subtle. It was front and center.
You asked me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player set it.
Okay.
Right? So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year, and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record?
These weren't one-off moments. They were part of a year-long pattern that said more about Swoopes than it ever did about Caitlin Clark. The trend is hard to ignore. When others shine or push back against her, Swoopes often reacts with hostility instead of support. Whether it was college athletes transferring in large numbers or a young star breaking records, she seemed unable to celebrate someone else's success without taking it personally. This toxic behavior eventually caught up with her again, this time at the Dallas Wings. Her commentary grew too divisive, even for a league that usually gives its legends the benefit of the doubt. When you look at the common threads between her firing at Loyola and her removal from WNBA broadcasts, it's clear, Swoopes has struggled to take criticism, grow, or adapt. So what exactly went down in Dallas last year?
And then obviously you guys remember last year when Dallas had to pretty much say, hey, you can't broadcast Indiana Fever game after the little comments and things you had the game before or something like that. Yeah, I believe it was that. And Nancy Lieberman was the one who pretty much confronted Sheryl Swoopes about the whole situation and let her know, like, hey, you know, we got to keep it this, we got to keep it that, keep it about basketball.
The controversy surrounding the Wings broadcast wasn't just about Caitlin Clark, it was about Swoopes making enemies in all the wrong places. When figures from basketball royalty start publicly criticizing one of their own, you know something serious is happening behind the scenes. That's exactly what unfolded when Swoopes found herself at odds with two of the sport's most influential voices, Stephen A. Smith and Nancy Lieberman.
You know basketball. You know basketball better than me. You know basketball than any of the pundits. You know basketball better than most of the men that play basketball. There is no way in hell you just accidentally left Caitlin Clark's name out of that soliloquy that you dropped about the Indiana Fever. Stop it. You know that. Stop it.
Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back when it came to expressing his views. He didn't just disagree with Swoopes, he tore apart her credibility on national television. In one particularly sharp segment, Smith directly questioned why Swoopes had consistently overlooked Caitlin Clark's contributions to the Indiana Fever's success. Do you have any idea how that makes you look? Smith asked, his voice growing more intense. How are you going to ignore Caitlin Clark? What made Smith's critique so damaging wasn't just the size of his audience, it was his pointed suggestion that Swoopes' silence about Clark wasn't an accident. He called it deliberate and unprofessional, especially given her basketball expertise, which should have made Clark's impact impossible to ignore.
I've known Sheryl since she was in college. I helped do her shoe deal with Nike in 1993, took her to her first SBs. I've known Sheryl, I've coached her, have a lot of respect for her. I called her when Caitlin was still playing at Iowa and she had just broken Maravich's record. And it was all over the place, as you and I have discussed, that, you know, there was this quote by Sheryl that said, you know, Caitlin was, 25 years old. She was, 24 years old. She was a fifth-year senior. Right. She was taking 40 shots a game. Her records were illegitimate.
Picking a fight with Stephen A. Smith was just the start of Swoopes' professional downfall. Nancy Lieberman, a broadcasting colleague and once a close friend of Swoopes, took things even further. After hearing Swoopes' comments about Caitlin Clark, Lieberman reportedly called Swoopes directly to confront her about the inaccuracies in her statements. The conversation didn't go well, so poorly, in fact, that Lieberman later confirmed their relationship was essentially over. The fallout was swift and public. In a move that couldn't have been more embarrassing for Swoopes, Lieberman ended up replacing her on the Dallas Wings broadcasts. This wasn't just a personnel change, it was a clear message about who had the credibility in the basketball world. Lieberman's willingness to challenge Swoopes and then literally take her job showed just how far Swoopes had fallen professionally.
That's what Nancy was all about. She was keeping it very, hey, let's bring this women's game let's bring it all together. Let's grow this thing together. And the question was talking about how older people or older players in the league pretty much are going about what's going on in the league. And Nancy knows Caitlin Clark is the biggest. She's got the eyes. She's got the fans. Let's not try to sink it. Let's try to get on the boat with her. And let's grow the game.
These public confrontations didn't just hurt Swoopes' reputation with fans, they left her isolated within the professional basketball community. When big names like Stephen A. Smith and Nancy Lieberman publicly question your integrity, networks and organizations pay attention. For the Dallas Wings and their broadcast partner, these feuds likely confirmed what viewer complaints had already made clear: Swoopes had become more of a liability than an asset to their brand. With all this baggage, what does the future look like for Swoopes in the 2025 season?
Now, see, they ain't got Sheryl no more. Cheryl's gone. Cheryl's gone. Nancy still got her job, though. Nancy still got her job. They got Sheryl built. They got Sheryl built. See? Sheryl was there last year. She ain't there no more.
That assessment of Swoopes as a liability ended up being the final blow to her broadcasting career. But what's truly surprising isn't just that she was removed from covering Fever games, it's that the Wings completely cut her from their 2025 broadcast lineup. If you look at the official statement from the Dallas Wings announcing their 2025 team, Swoopes' name is nowhere to be found.
It looks like the Dallas Wings have left off Mrs. Sheryl Swoopes on the broadcasting team for the 2025 season. If you guys remember, Sheryl Swoopes, she was on the broadcasting team last year, right?
This wasn't just about protecting Caitlin Clark, it was about protecting the Wings brand and the overall viewer experience. The decision to remove Swoopes from all games, not just Fever matchups, suggests the organization realized there was a bigger issue with her broadcasting style that went beyond a personal rivalry. Her constant negativity and factual errors had gone from a small annoyance to a real business problem, especially as viewership for women's basketball continued to grow. What happened next may be the most revealing part of this story. After a year of criticism and controversy, Swoopes suddenly appeared on ESPN, praising the very player she had spent months criticizing. How much stronger Caitlin got in the off-season. You know she was in the gym working on her game, Swoopes gushed, adding, "This Indiana Fever team, they've put the pieces together in the off-season, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do."
The team that I feel made the biggest moves, maybe even the best moves, that would be the Indiana Fever. I think the Indiana Fever went from just being in the playoffs last season to potentially winning a championship. How much stronger Caitlin got in the offseason. You know, she was in the gym working on her game. This Indiana Fever team, they have put the pieces together in this offseason, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do.
Fans weren't buying this sudden change of heart for a second. Social media quickly erupted with skepticism and mockery. Comments on ESPNW's post ranged from, "Oh, how she's changing her tune now," to, "Is Swoopes okay? She said something nice about Caitlin Clark instead of bashing her with a lie." Others were even more blunt, with one person saying, "She admits defeat. I can't imagine how many months of therapy it took her to say Caitlin's name without a scowl."
I kept on saying it. I said, Sheryl Swoopes, you are going to find yourself out of the media so fast by how you're, by how you're moving, how you're talking on other players, talking on other people's podcasts.
Even Stephen A. Smith couldn't resist commenting on Swoopes' sudden change of heart. He pointed out that her previous silence about Caitlin Clark's talents seemed deeply personal. What she's not realizing is that when she doesn't state the obvious, it's automatically going to be assumed that it's something personal. We know she knows the game of basketball too well to ignore what she's been ignoring when it comes to Caitlin Clark, Smith explained. The Indiana Fever, the same team Swoopes spent a year criticizing, has now turned into a legitimate title contender right before our eyes. What began with that late-season 5-game winning streak, when Clark started finding her rhythm, was just the beginning. The real action is happening in 2025, and basketball fans everywhere are taking notice. Pundits are now ranking them as one of the top 3 teams in the league.
The Indiana Fever are that golden destination, and I can't help but laugh to the fans and the people online and the media commentators, unfortunately, who said that nobody wanted to play in Indiana. That doesn't make any sense.
Indiana's front office has pulled off one of the most impressive roster makeovers in recent WNBA history. The signings of 3-time champion Natasha Howard and 2-time champion Dana Borner are more than just smart moves. They're the kind of strategic additions that can turn a playoff team into a legitimate title contender. Despite being 36, Borna is still a powerhouse, averaging 15 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1.2 blocks in 40 games last season with Connecticut. Howard, a former Defensive Player of the Year, brings top-tier defensive skills, perfectly complementing the Fever's young core, and let's not forget about Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Coulson, and Brianna Turner, who add depth to a solid bench. What makes these veteran acquisitions so brilliant is how they fit seamlessly with the Fever's younger stars, Clark, Boston, Hull, and Mitchell. This team's young talent needed exactly what Howard and Borna bring: championship experience, defensive versatility, and leadership from players who've thrived in high-pressure playoff situations. Now, the Fever have the ideal mix of youth and experience, similar to how championship teams like the 2022 Aces blended veteran savvy with emerging stars.
Caitlin Clark is the GOAT!
She signed my jersey! So happy, I'm crying. I'm so happy. This is the best day ever.
Caitlin Clark effect seems to be crazier than year one.
I love watching her score and just everything about her.
They went the extra mile just to watch her play here.
This is great news for women's basketball. Period.
She just brings so much passion to the game, and look at all these people that just want to come and see her.
It is no secret that the Indiana Fever are the most popular team in the WNBA. It is good for the entire